Passing through the veil of mystery, seeking answers no one is brave to ask. This is Bound to Truth.
Hey, that was loud. Hey, everybody, it's Chris Lopez from Bound to Truth with Jon Hirschy. It's been a while with this man. Hope everybody's having a great Saturday. Tomorrow's Easter Sunday. He has risen. For those who believe, I hope.
He is risen indeed.
He is risen. Died for the sins of mankind. If you're like, what sins? We can have a conversation about that. It's a whole deeper conversation, but it's going to be a beautiful day tomorrow. A lot of Easter eggs, a lot of candy. Me, I can't eat candy as much as I used to because old age does that to you. But I hope everybody's having a great day. It's been a while with Jon Hirschy, which he's back here with me. Today's going to be a little bit different. Today, I'm in the hot seat. He's going to be interviewing me. He came up with this idea to have people get to know me a bit. I'm a little nervous what he's going to ask. But anyway, so right now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Jonathan Hirschy here and let him lead this interview. All right, I'm at your mercy, John.
Absolutely. Well, it is good to be back. You are. I'm here in my messy garage. It's that time of year again where I have to clean my garage because you guys can actually see my background because it's still bright. So
hey, you know what though? On a good note though,
spring cleaning's coming up.
Spring cleaning's coming up, but you know what's nice here in Washington? Even though the days get darker more in the fall winter time, the trade-off is it's a lot lighter. There's spring summer, better motorcycle riding. You and I both know that. So yeah,
it's so light. I'm now at that during the wintertime. I have to put a curtain over the window because I have a window that's right here because there's so much light that reflects off the neighbor's house over there because it's a white house. As you can tell, it looks like I'm some kind of holy entity about ready to get rose up into the sky.
It looks like you went to the burning
all right,
bush,
Mr. Lopez. So
yeah, good.
Yeah, exactly. And it came out glowing. All right, Mr. Christopher Lopez, I chose this topic because I felt we've talked about some things recently and you feel that you're not bringing the right type of personal atmosphere into the world. You don't feel like you're reaching out and really driving the truth home. And maybe it's because you haven't been vulnerable. We know so well, I know a lot, but the viewers and the listeners know so very little about you and your experience. They know a lot about me. You've interviewed me. They know a lot about Randy and Gary and all of those other individuals that you have interviewed. But you know who they haven't interviewed or we haven't is Mr. Christoper Lopez, who lives at, let me give your address, his phone number is, social security number. And
you know, somehow I do believe that you have all that information.
Yep. Yeah. And I will apologize in advance if people hear screaming kids in the background. They are currently fighting over some Easter candy right now. I can hear it. But let's get down to the nitty gritty before one of them comes out here and tries to eat me. So, Chris, I wrote down some very important questions that I thought were going to help in this endeavor. And we are going to start with, what was the moment or experience that made you realize you wanted to create a podcast about God, faith, and the truth and paranormal? If there was a defining moment where you woke up, your revelation, where it popped in, you're like, I got to do this.
Yeah, that's a great starter question. I would say it started, you know, when I was separated. Well, on a good note, I'm remarried to the same person, which I'm very blessed and happy to be with my wife. But it was a time where
you did.
Yep, I did a lot of soul searching, and I'm a big fan of listening to podcasts and stories. Like a big influence on me is Art Bell from Coast to Coast to AM back in the 90s. I know I'm a bit older, but I'll tell you this: anybody who has not heard of Art Bell, I'm gonna tell you what I'm talking about. I love Joe Rogan. I love Sean Ryan stuff. They're great stuff. But Art Bell was the man. He had so many calls of people's experiences. He, to me, was the one who had everything from alien experiences to paranormal cryptids, and he was such an unbiased person who asked really good questions. That's and I was like, and again, listen to the podcast, like, you know what, I can do this. I love doing it. Why not? And so my brother at the time, who you've talked to before, John, who's also Jonathan, a lot of Johns in my life. We started doing it. Want to kind of
a lot of Johns in your life.
A lot of Johns, even the toilet. So, but we started it for a little bit. Then he kind of backed out for personal reasons, which I'm not going to go into. Which is, again, nothing bad, just something I respected, and that's what kind of drove me a little bit. It was something I needed during the time of just uncertainty and just trying to repurpose my soul and purpose on doing this. And then, and I've been blessed with it so far. I've met some really great people. Of course, you, John, us meeting and becoming just really great friends. I call you brother, Xander, all these people across the board, Randy, who we're still working on that documentary, which we're excited about. So that was the precipice of that, was just like, you know what, I can do this. Why not? And I thought, people out there were not informed what's going on. I didn't want to I wanted to do something where it's trying to find that truth and also not sensationalize it in a way, what people do on YouTube, and just like that fix of shock and value. I wanted to have a conversation and have people really encourage them to think for themselves and take the information I'm providing and decide for yourself, regardless. I don't, regardless if I have proof of anything or not. So it was a way for me to make sure I'm not losing my humanity and connecting with people, and then also at the same time enjoy sharing something that I'm passionate about. So sorry, that's a long answer, but here you go.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. All right. Number 2, can you share a specific time in your life when your relationship with Christ was most tested? How did that experience impact you and turn you into the person you are today? If you can summarize that. It's a complicated question. It's loaded.
I would say that's still continuing in ways.
Yeah, and that's okay to say. You could be currently going through that.
I would say there's been stages in my life, being raised Catholic, and when I say being raised Catholic, I don't mean that in a negative way. I still love a lot of things with the Catholic Church. I'm not a fan of the Catholic politics, but and that's everywhere in churches, right? But I would say that's still a continuation on a daily basis. I feel like there's that song I love this song from U2 called "I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For," and it's basically kind of wording up like, truth and life and experience, but I still haven't found what I'm looking for, and I'm still kind of in that crossroads. Does that mean I haven't had spiritual experience with Christ? No. Have I had some amazing experiences? Yes. The problem that I deal with is that I'm still a stubborn son of a gun. But I will say this, that
I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah, and I would say this, that I
100% agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that God daily does reach out to me, even though sometimes I feel like, garbage, and that's me being hard. I mean, I think one of the things that I think what I'm learning about relationship with God, even though it feels one-sided, because when I say one-sided, it's not because I'm being one-sided with God, I'm reaching out, he's not reaching out to me, it's the other way around, right? And and I feel like what I'm learning more, it's not about big miracles, right? It's about the personal ones on a daily basis, the smallest things. Like, I'll give an example. I was meeting with a client, doing some updates on some accounts, trying to make sure I'm being, not too detailed about it, for her private life. But she said something and it made me cry. This is this week, by the way, in my office. And the sweetest lady, and I told her my name. She's like, "Oh, Christopher." I'm like, "Yeah, it's Christopher." And she says, "You're Catholic." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. How'd you know?" She's like, "I know." And she said something that it wasn't just the words, it was just the presence that she says, "You are such a sweet man, and you are such a good man." And I struggle with that with daily. You know this. We've had many deep conversations. And
Yeah. Yep.
I actually cried in my office a bit because I didn't expect that. I work hard at what I do. I've been going through a lot of recent anger moments personally, and it's something I just need to hear. So to me, that is a miracle to me. Like I said, that's how God talks to me, and so it reminds me that
Yeah.
God's always there when you even if you don't expect it. And I would say I can't answer again what specific moment. I would say it's a daily moment for me, and it's just one day at a time. So, but yeah, it was a beautiful moment. So there you go.
One day at a time is true. Oh, here's a good one. What personal struggles with faith have you faced that made you question your worth or purpose in helping others come to Christ?
Whew. I would say worthiness. Making
Yeah.
sure you know that I fear I'm being a hypocrite because God knows I'm a sinner. We all are, but I tend to be really hard on myself. And there's times where that's a loaded one, man.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I that to me is a struggle. But at the same time, through struggle, I'm also learning some wisdom with it too. That ego is a two-way street. Ego, we always interpret it as pride, right? But also ego, it could be a selfish way of like, I'm the worst person in the world and I'm not good enough. And it's basically rejecting God.
Ego can be self-loathing.
Yeah. And you said it to me. I agree. That's exactly. And that is pretty much what it is. And I think you've called me on that many times, and that's a struggle for me. And it's unnecessary. It's not saying we can't be human, we can't hurt, we can't process, but on a daily basis where it's like I'm not good enough and I feel distant from God. It's not because God's being distant from me, it's because I choose to, because of my self-loathing and always guilt. It's like if I don't feel guilty about something, I'm gonna think about something 10 years ago and I feel guilty about that. I'm the worst person in the world. And it's basically rejecting. To me, it's a slap in God's face, because it's like, well, I guess the cross that Jesus did wasn't good enough. It's good enough for everybody else, but not good enough for you. That's pretty egotistical, right? So that's my answer to that.
Okay. I will accept that answer, Christoper Lopez. That question is actually basically the same one. Okay. Why, if do you believe you are the right person to guide others towards Christ, especially considering the struggles you have recently talked about? Actually, because obviously, because of how you focus your podcast, it's a mission in a way, because your podcast is not there to your goal is the truth and things like that too, but your goal is also God, and you've made that clear in previous podcasts as well that we've done, bringing people closer to Christ with the truth.
So ask that question one more time. All right.
Well, I just lost it.
It's okay.
Why do you believe you are the right person to guide others? Why do you believe that you are the right person to guide others towards Christ, especially considering the struggles that you just mentioned?
Well, I will say this first off, I'm definitely not the right person. I'm
I won't agree
I
with
well,
you there, but we
when
can
I
agree to disagree
and
on that one.
when I can't say I'm the right person. I would say that the podcast
Maybe I
has
should hold on. Maybe I should rephrase this.
sure.
I don't think actually, I think I made that too wide of a question. So maybe I should rephrase it of why do you believe you are the right person to do this podcast that is directed at guiding people towards Christ's love and the truth? I'll rephrase that
Yeah,
question.
that's still a tough one because when I first started this podcast, it
Eh,
it wasn't really intentionally for that until my personal experiences with you and the hunts we've done and our conversations.
mhm.
Um, I would say not the not the right person. I would say I'm the right person. I would say a great source. Let's say that in regards to Christ in that way,
Mhm.
not just in the paranormal field and all the UFOs and aliens and so forth. Because right now, like we talked about before we started, how I'm feeling, where everything's kind of leaning, and my theories and thoughts, which could be a whole another podcast
Yeah.
episode. But I would say I think I'm the great source into my thoughts and ideas into where things are going around us and in this world. And also, not just that, but I would think also in personal experience because I've gone through a lot. You've gone through a lot. We've all gone through a lot. But you know what, though?
Yeah.
Am I anybody's flavor? No, because everybody connects people in different ways depending on certain experiences where they can have an aha moment. Oh, I've been
Yeah.
through that too. Or I've been that, I would say
Yeah.
that
And that was
that's
always
yeah.
I would like to point out that that was always kind of a goal for your podcast too, was to be able to
Yeah.
give people that that ability to hear someone say something. They're like, "Oh, I've been through that too." And we've
Well,
had
yeah,
some
well, you know what too
people that have
you know what
listened and have
too
reached out, and we've had them on here that are like, "Yep, me too."
well, you know what, though, also too, I will say this, the right person is, I think, and again, this is not and I'm not saying this with churches or anything like that, because I don't want to put that ego out there. I think for me being on so it's like Darth Vader, he goes to the dark side and eventually becomes a good guy at the end. You go through so many different channels of
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
of experiences because you get so inquisitive and curious and stuff, and you learn, okay, that hurt. I don't want to touch that fire. That's bad, type of thing.
Yeah.
But and I'm not sure if
Exactly.
this is happening now, but I would say this, that people who are out there, especially Christians, is to really, you know, I'm hoping that their pastors and their priests would talk more about these subjects. It's not to be blasphemous. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the Bible that are pretty amazing things that people don't know about. For example, um, uh, Nephilims. People don't know what Nephilims were, right? It's in Genesis about
Yeah.
giants, right? People were like, "What? What? That's real? Yeah, the fallen angels, the sons of God made with the daughters of men. You had Nephilims. You don't hear about that. You don't talk about that. No one talks about that. This is why
No.
I'm not trying to destroy the dogmatic way of at the end of the day, your relationship with Christ is what matters. Period. Period. It's not destroy his world.
Yeah. There
But
you go.
also
Yeah.
but at the same time, I think it's beautiful to read these stories. The Bible's amazing. It's I what love what my grandmother
Yeah.
says about the Bible. It's a love letter to mankind because you have every freaking mistake in it. You have some
Yeah.
pretty dark stuff in that Bible people know nothing about. And I know people are like, well, I
really
don't go
bad.
dark.
And a lot, and that's because
So
most
I would,
people's
yeah. Go ahead.
experience with the Bible is a couple readings at church 3 times a year, usually,
Yeah, yeah, and it's not to take
or
away
a
darken the mood.
little
I
Bible
think,
study where they cover the basics.
yeah, and see, and
Yeah.
I think it's important to cover these topics because I think that's what drive people out of the church. Like when I had a conversation, I'm not going to give a person's name away, a friend of mine, and he says, I never thought about that before. This person's not a Christian. They have their own
Yeah.
experiences and stuff, but I never thought about that before. So I think to me is I think I'm not gonna say I'm the right one, but I think I'm at least qualified to really ask questions to make people think. I'm good at that because I like to see a bridge between
You are.
where it's either God or aliens, where it's like, dude, read the Bible. There's still a lot.
There's so much in
I hope that
between.
answers. I hope that
Yeah.
answers that question the best way I
yeah.
can.
Oh,
Yeah.
it does in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just trying to make sure I don't ask because I wrote a lot of redundant questions that were basically just reiterated
okay.
other questions.
No, you're good.
What personal experiences or hardships have strengthened your desire to help others find their faith? If you could pick one.
What heart? Oh man, that's a good. Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say hurt hurt that I've caused on others at times, directly, indirectly, and the grace and the love
Mhm.
and the compassion that has been given to me. I would say that's
Yeah.
what drives like
I like that.
I would say that because I've had some experiences in my life, recent experiences you and I talked about. I do
Yeah.
not wish will ill on anybody. Is there consequences to things and choices and actions? Absolutely. We all face them. But one thing I definitely don't want is people to wish them evil because it's a pill that you swallow, a bitter pill you swallow that you hope the
Yeah.
other person gets sick. And I'll tell you this, it reminds me how Christ talks about to love your enemies and do good those who hurt you because like pouring hot coals in their head. Let me tell you something. That's power. That's power. And here's an example. I watched a guy who was convicted for murder. He killed a bunch of girls, right? He always people blast like go after him. Parents go and criticize, which that's an honest, painful thing. I'm not going to criticize anybody who's pissed about that. I'd be pissed too. Yeah, plenty.
Yeah.
You be pissed too. And but the guy
naturally.
didn't flinch.
Naturally.
Yeah, the murderer didn't flinch. But there was this one old man who says, listen, I know how everybody feels about, and I'm paraphrasing. He said, I know how everybody feels about this. I've heard their statements. He's like, you know what? But, all I can say is like, I'm upset what you did to my daughter. And again, I'm not trying to say I'm some murderer. I'm just giving an example. So, but what happened was what he said, I thought was so powerful. Was like, because God asked me to forgive you, I forgive you. And I love you. And I'm praying for you. That guy cried.
Oh, you know what? I think I saw that. I know the one.
You
that
know
you're
what I'm talking
about.
about? So to me, compassion and love and
Yeah,
mercy and I've had to learn that because I've always thought that at times that's weakness when it's actually strength. And it's just finding the wisdom when that is needed. Like, it's like it's okay, there's consequence to actions, this, in these things, but don't let it ruin your life type of thing, and you're hoping, at the end, that there's that person will change, you really do. And so again, that's an extreme example, but that's something, and I get that from my grandmother, I would say, and my mother. That's why it's like when you and I talk, you got your own
Yeah.
purpose on things. Me, I'm not a fighter. I'll fight if I need to, but I don't want to wish ill on anybody. So I think that's something.
Yeah,
that-
you're
that-
definitely a lover, not a fighter.
in a healthy, good, pure way. It's okay. So yeah.
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 What would you tell your past self before your faith journey took this path, knowing what you know now? If you could give past Chris an advice from current Chris's standpoint in his faith and in his journey and in his walk with God and the paranormal and the universe and the knowledge that you have gained today, if you could give one solid piece of advice to tiny little 10-year-old Christoper as he's shitting behind a bush somewhere. I just figured that's what you did. I don't know what people do in California, but if you could give one singular piece of advice.
Stop being an asshole. No, that's not it. My advice.
Agreed. That would be my
Yeah,
advice.
I think my advice would be this: learn how to love yourself in healthy ways as Christ loves you. I really mean that. I really mean
There you
that.
go.
I truly mean that.
Yeah.
If you can't love yourself in healthy ways, you are never going to love people in healthy ways.
Now, with all of that, getting close to we might actually wrap this up in 30 minutes for once. Holy cow, we might actually have a 30-minute episode, ladies and gentlemen.
I know. That's good.
That's a first for us. How do your own doubts and struggles with Christ, with your journey, influence the way you approach hosting this podcast and delivering your message?
Repeat that question. You was cut out a little bit. I apologize.
You're good. How do your own doubts or struggles with Christ with Christ and your walk with Christ influence the way you approach hosting this podcast?
How's my doubts and my influence? Read that one more time.
Your doubts in your journey and your walk with Christ. How do your doubts or struggles with your current walk with Christ, your current personal one, with all of the ups and the downs and the beliefs and non-beliefs and the questions and the disorientations that come with having a Christ journey in your own life, how does that influence the way you approach hosting this podcast and your ability to deliver the message with it? Because you have a very, very complicated relationship with Christ, but it's still strong but complicated. How have those doubts and that complication influenced the way you tell your truth?
I got to tell you this. I will say this. No matter how much research I do, no matter how much I read, either in the news or reports, personal research from other sources, I will say this, that it really brings me back to prayer, and that's still a struggle for me. I'm right now barely remembering or even relearning how to talk to God. And so when I do so, and when I'm struggling, I want to make sure when I'm doing the podcast that I really take the moment. And this has evolved. Like I said earlier, what's my intent? And I really want to make sure my intent is to bring information to people. My intent is to have people ask questions. My intent is to not tell people how to think. I think we have enough of that going on right now in the social media world, especially. I think our brains are overstimulated with shock value, and it's a drug, really. I know that personal. It's like we want the next fix. So I would say that it's got me more simply of just giving it to God and making sure my intent is the best way possible. And I would say, and that's been struggles. I would look at time, and I still do this at times, but I was more aggressive about it before. It's like, oh, clicks and this and that and all this stuff and all the jazz and so forth. Like, you know what, dude? I'm not about clicks. I'm not about trying to get famous. I'm not trying to do that. The people, I bring on, I want to make sure they have my full attention, no matter how ridiculous it is. If it sounds ridiculous, that's the experience they had. And that I'm learning how to approach things how God has loved me and approach it with love and grace and mercy with no judgment, and just ask questions to have these people with their experiences think, right? And not tell them what it is.
Yeah.
So I would say,
You don't really want
and you know
people to be
what, I'll tell you this.
disillusioned by.
And I will tell you this. Thank God for my struggles. I know I get pissed at times, but you know what? I thank God for my struggles because it's brought me here. It's brought me you. And we've gotten close, very close. You're a brother to me. And so I would say honestly, it's got me more back to prayer. And how do I pray? You know what? I just make it a conversation like I'm with you. Sounds schizo,
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, God, hey, good morning. What's going on? I'm about this.
That's actually,
yeah.
That's some of the most faithful people that I've ever known in my life. People who are devout. I talk about my grandfather a lot. Devout missionaries.
Yeah.
He very rarely would sit down and, our Father who art in heaven. It was a conversation. Grandpa would have his quiet time in his study where you didn't bother him. And that was the time that he would go in there and he would sit down and he journaled every day since like he was a child. There were stacks and stacks of journals in his study.
Right.
So he would sit down. Excuse me, I got the hiccups.
No, it's good.
He would sit down and he would journal and he would talk with God.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a prayer. It wasn't a sit down. It wasn't a thank you, amen. It was a conversation. Whether it was one-sided or two-sided, we'll never know. That was his private time. But like still, that's how I look at prayer. It's a conversation. Like you said,
yeah,
it sounds a little schizo, but it's a conversation.
Well, you know what though? Absolutely. And to add to that, John, too, is like when the Our Father and everything, it's a lot more meaningful when you go through some shit. I really mean that, because when you're younger, you need to pray this and do this. And I really want to challenge people out there who've lived a very, and this is not bad. This is not judgmental. I'm speaking just from a personal experience. You're going to church, you do this every day. I've done all these things, I've said these prayers. I really encourage people to really meditate what those words mean. Really, really do. For example, when Christ summed up the Bible, love the Lord with all your heart, mind, body, and soul, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. It took me years to know what that meant. Love your neighbors, just love. Do I love myself? That's right. Like those out there who lived in
that's the loaded question.
And that is, and I really challenge people to do that. And it may be a scary question, and that's okay. That's okay. It's not about perfection. It's about progression. Christ is perfect. He's done it. It's done. It's done. And also learning too, to have grace for myself, is I have to tell myself I am no good. I'm not good. That's not to put myself down. Christ is good. That's what the cross is. I have good intentions.
Yeah.
but I don't have to try to be good.
Yeah.
But what does that mean? Do evil? No. I don't need to try to be good to earn God's to get accolades to God. There's no such thing. It's been done.
Yeah.
It's about accepting.
Exactly.
It's about accepting Christ's love. That's when you do good. Once you accept that in a humble form, that's how faith with works happens, right? You do it because of that the intentions become pure. And also too, you're going back to your grandfather. It's funny you're saying that. I think you're like this compliment. It reminds me of David, who wrote. If you read the book of Psalms, that guy, he rambled, dude. He rambled.
That guy spoke to God. Yeah, he spoke.
Dude,
he spoke to God.
He challenged God on those things, not out of like, I'm pissed at you. Like, what the hell, dude? You know, I love that.
It was more out of admiration for him.
Right. And here's the thing. What I love, and this is why God says David is a man after my own heart, because he didn't hold back. He didn't. What do you call it? Blow smoke up God's keister, dude. You know, he was real, and God loved that.
It's
like, that's
God
what a relationship is.
Weak Christians. And being a weak Christian comes from being a cookie cutter Christian, from being that person who was never really truly identified their place with God or their personal relationship, not the relationship of going to church and listening to the pastor and then just I'm a Christian because I go to church, but a personal relationship with God, a coram deo, a face-to-face with God. That is what God wants for all of us. He does, he desires for us to all have a personal relationship with him, and you have a good relationship. It's rocky, it's up and down, but it wouldn't be a strong relationship if it wasn't full of complications. It's just like any relationship. It's like marriage and things like that. It's going to have its ups and downs.
Well, I had to rethink the story of Moses, John. We both know it religiously, no pun intended. But to look at my struggles you have, we all have struggles. We're human beings, and I'm like, okay, we read the story. Have we really emotionally compared it to our crap that we've gone through, stressful moments? That guy was a prince of Egypt, right?
Yeah,
he had everything. And he lost everything, and he tried to be.
He had nothing, and then got it.
And he tried to be a hermit, and God's like, nope. Yeah. Wow, actually, holy crap.
Yeah, sorry, I got plans for you. Get back here. Yeah. Oh no,
well,
Chris.
No, you know what?
You had a revelation.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about me ending everybody in the audience. Just let you know, I've been talking about ending the podcast and about doing our ghost hunting stuff. And
he was ready to give up on all you guys.
I just answered my own question. Again, that's to me a God moment. I know it sounds stupid or weird, but wow.
Chris just had a revelation, everybody, and that is exactly what happens when you struggle with a path that Christ has put you on. Is the enemy is going to try to pull you away. He's going to try to push you over. He's going to try to distract you with this and that and TikTok and sex, money, drugs, and things. Like, he's going to throw anything he has at you. But as long as you listen, God will always find a way to call you back.
Well, I guess I'm not quitting the podcast or paranormal hunting then.
Well, I sure hope not. We're going to Monte Cristo here soon to see if we come back dead.
If I see a burning bush that's not burning, John, I'm calling you.
If you see a burning bush that's not burning, just put it out. You're probably drunk.
So, was that the last question?
That's the last question, Chris. I had these kind of pointed. I struggled with a lot of these questions. I kind of bounced them back and forth. I actually have like 62 questions in here, and I forgot to narrow them down because there was a lot of different ones but I chose the key ones. I actually chose key ones off of your answers. It was almost like I was interrogating you. Like, if he answers this way, ask this one. If he answers this way, ask this one.
I got to admit, I was a bit nervous, but because it's putting myself out there, even though I've been putting myself out of the podcast, but people to get to know me, type of thing. Because especially with social media now, it's a scary world. Because people will try to expose everybody, and you know what? I'll tell you this: unless you're Jeffrey Epstein and all those crooked pieces of crap, don't expose anybody that's unnecessary. No, but you say it for selfish reasons. That's I get that OCD fear.
Honestly, you shouldn't be exposing yourself to people at all. Yeah.
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. That's just not good. That's no bueno. Please don't do that. If you do it with a smile with a peace sign or something. I don't know.
No bueno.
I appreciate those questions, John, and thanks for that little. I wouldn't say little, that big aha moment when I was talking about Moses and how he was going to the desert and he was going to just live a quiet life. And all of a sudden God pulls him back and I'm like, crap.
I'm like, yeah. I mean, you were trying to pull a Moses. You're like, I'm just gonna back off of everything important that I've worked so hard on just to kind of, it was something. And then you're like, son of a bitch, I can't do that.
Well, I will say this, before we end it, everybody out there, through this process, I'm grateful for everybody. I'm grateful for the friendships that I've developed. I love everybody out there. I am blessed and humbled. And this next direction with the podcast is I'm trying to keep it more thoughtful and again, engaging and ask more questions. I encourage people to be a guest in the show. Because this platform was created for you. It really is. It's not about me. It's not about John.
Yeah.
It's about you. And for those who feel like maybe
today it was about Chris.
But those who feel like they can't, they have experiences that they're afraid to talk to a pastor or priest about. And that's not about confession. I'm not going there about that stuff. And I'm talking about things that we talk about, paranormal, UFOs, ghosts and all that stuff. This is a platform for it. And Christian or not, this platform for you. You are still a child of God. You are still loved, and you are not ignored. And that's what this platform is.
And we're here, we're here to show you that you can believe and believe.
Yeah. Here's some like an example, little quick one. When King Saul went to a medium, people don't know that there was a medium in the Bible. Like, he went to a medium, and boy, what's his name? The prophet.
There were prostitutes in the Bible, man.
Oh yeah. Well, look, the Battle of Jericho, Joshua, the Battle of Jericho. You know who saved him? You know who got him in? A prostitute. Yep. A prostitute, and she's praised.
Yep.
That's why my grandmother says that the Bible's a love letter to humankind.
It's because God didn't hang out with the rich. God didn't hang out with the pure. He didn't hang out with the cool kids. He hung out with the dirty, the lowest of the low, because those were the ones that needed him the most.
And I would say, John, I would encourage people
start with the undesirable.
Yeah, and to research the history back then about what was considered filthy and dirty in comparison to this times. I really, really encourage you to do to show how much grace and love, mercy is that. But I will say this, everybody, gonna keep going with the podcast since I already got my answer. What episodes? What does that look like? I have no idea. I don't know. I will, I'll be reporting on stuff. We got a lot of stuff going on, I'll say this to everybody. There's a lot of crap going on regarding the UFOs, UAPs. I'm not saying they're not real. They're real.
And we
don't know what they are.
For it. As it's happening, we'll cover it because things are happening. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't.
Yeah. And I would say this, John, I will say this 2026 has been a freaking roller coaster already. It's been a roller coaster. I mean,
it's only getting worse. This isn't one of those times.
Yeah.
where I can give any words of encouragement or hope or anything like that to anybody. I really wish I could. Usually I find a way to try to figure that out here too, because I'm a very negative person, but I try to not let other people be that way because I live that way. I have a bunch of kids. I have to think about the worst thing at all times, like what the worst of the worst is, because I have to be above and beyond prepared to make sure that the world, the bombs could be going off all around us and my kids are swimming in the pool type of crap. Like we don't have a pool, but they would, for an example. But it's the same thing. I wish I could give words of encouragement to make everybody feel better about our world right now. I can't. There is nothing that I can say because it would be a lie. We are in an absolute crisis, religiously, spiritually, financially, economics, socioeconomic, food structures, our banking systems, our government systems, our world leaders. Everything is falling apart all around us one by one, and I can't really be encouraging about it. Something's gonna happen. We don't know what, but here it comes.
Well, I will say this too, John, to add to that, is that there is a lot of spirit of confusion right now in everything. Like you just said, you nailed it perfectly. I call it a distraction for a bigger agenda. I really do. It's funny when I look at the Book of Revelations, you think
I'll
it's
agree
pretty,
with you.
You look at the Book of Revelations, it seems pretty black and white, which is not. And I'll say this: you and I've gone through paranormal stuff. We faced some scary moments. We've gone through that, all that stuff. But I'll tell you this: the biggest thing that scares me is what's going on. There's that spiritual, like spiritual, like disease that's affecting everybody in a way. And again, I'm not saying that to knock people down. It's just you feel something's not right, and but at the same time, you just
it's not.
It's not
right.
Yeah. So, but anyways, like I encourage people, like whatever you hear about the news, everything, ask questions. Don't take it face value. Ask questions.
Yep.
And don't argue. Ask questions.
Don't take anything that comes out of those politicians' mouths or newscasters' mouths literally at all, because they are all trained to lie. Every single one of them is trained to lie.
And pray about it, man. That's what God gave us a spirit for. I mean, pray about it. Use that moment to take a moment and pause. Put down the phone, take a moment to pause and just pray. Really, and most importantly, love each other. Take care of each other, because right now we need each other more than ever.
Yeah,
we do. There's too much division going on right now. Everybody's got their own little bubble that people are getting affected.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah, so.
And they're fighting. Everybody's going to fight, and that's what they want. They want everybody to turn against each other.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to fight against the people if they're divided.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So everybody, John, hang on for a moment. Gonna end this podcast, not to be somber, but really, really hope everybody enjoyed this. Great questions that John asked me, and I'm really grateful, John, for this idea. I never thought of myself. And there were challenging questions, and I appreciate that. And I'm hoping everybody who watches this, again, it's not about me. I'm hoping that just sharing some vulnerable spots will help you feel that you're not alone, right? And that you feel free to reach out. We could do a podcast. Battletruth34@gmail.com, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. What else? YouTube, all those other channels. But again, you are loved, and this platform is yours as well. So until then, we'll say this: see you on the other side. Good night.